Oh, who out there needs a holiday? Ah, boy, I do. And I'm allegedly on one right now. Welcome to What Is She Thinking? The Vacation Myth, your summer break and the stressed out brain. I'm Melanie Marshall,
I'm Dr. Heather Collins.
and we have been thinking about holidays and taking a break for quite a while. You might be in the same boat as we are, feeling like you need a break. And we've also been talking amongst ourselves about what makes it important and what makes it difficult to take that time off and to do it in a way that's really going to give you some space to breathe and to get yourself back on track. What is it that you would like people to get out of today, Dr. Heather?
I would really like people to understand that vacations or some kind of rest is really, really important for us. That there are many different types of vacations we can take, and that these vacations and these periods of rest can really have important and severely restorative effects on your brain.
It is good for your brain to
It's
take
good for
a break.
you. Taking
Yeah.
a break is good for you. Breaking news.
I feel like we do. Look at us. We're switching up. I said brain, you said news. I feel you can tell I'm tired and need a break, but I think this happens a lot. And I know some of you will recognize this. We know something is good for us, and yet it can be hard to do. We're running, we're working, things are going on. And the idea of actually slowing down, spending money, maybe right now, if money is tight, can feel so difficult, then people just somehow shut themselves off, even if they know it's going to be a good idea. And I'm always curious, and I mean, maybe when I say people, I mean me, about why is it so hard sometimes to stop?
Well, it's hard to stop because of inertia. So inertia is the property of physics in which an object in motion tends to stay in motion. And sometimes that object happens to be your brain. When your brain is in motion, your brain is going at a certain pace. It sets up systems to create expectations of that pace. And deviating from that can just feel really off or really awkward. And that's why it's really hard sometimes for us to acknowledge that we need to take a vacation, because it feels antithetical to our experience that we're having every day.
So what is that? So I know that I've never been great at, like, I went to the spa the other week and I was doing great. I was doing great. And then about halfway through the day, I started to think about work in the flotation chamber. I was in the zero gravity underground bath. And I was lying there thinking well, here's how I could solve this problem for this consulting client. And what about this? And then I started getting really anxious about the fact that I didn't have my phone and I couldn't work. And this was just one day. Why did my brain do that? Because I was really relaxed.
Well, the interesting thing is your brain doesn't have an off switch. If only it did, we could just boop, push that button and turn it off. And so even though you may have physically been in a space where you're getting all the signals, this is not a time for work, this is a time for rest, relaxation, time for a restorative experience, your brain has to have a transition period of time. So it can help sometimes if you give yourself 15 minutes to do a brain dump of all those work things. It can help if you allow yourself a little bit of physical space and time for that transition. But the other thing is, those solutions might have just come to you because you were in a relaxed state.
Okay, so there's a couple of things in there that I want to go back and pull out. So number one, I'm awesome because I did come up with some great solutions.
Oh, definitely awesome. We knew that. Not breaking news.
But number two, the idea that actually, if we're trying to think ahead, and I hope a lot of people are thinking about taking some time if they can, that knowing that you're the only, like, that basically it's not a good idea though to try and rest and work at the same time generally. Is that true?
That is true. So we know that your brain will chew on whatever food you feed it, so to speak. And when I say food, I mean information. So if you feed it rest, it's going to chew on rest and process that. If you feed it work, it's going to chew on work and process that. So keep in mind that if you spend 10 minutes doing work, that might affect your brain for the next hour or 2 hours. And so your brain is definitely a byproduct of what you are actually doing physically as well as mentally, be it work, be it rest, be it relaxation. And it's really important to recognize that taking a vacation and taking a break from work really does require focus, little transition time, and understanding that can actually help you bridge that transition so that you have a more beneficial vacation or rest period.
So that's the other thing. So you're talking about, so there's a couple of things there. One, you're talking about the transition, right? Which is to give yourself something to say, which is like, okay, the crazy day I think a lot of us have had where we're like, I'm going to get everything done. It's either like a handover or trying to like pass it all off or write the out of office so that you can feel like you can relax. But I just think what I know a lot of people do, and I have done, and I'm doing right now, is I'm like, okay, well, I can give myself a week, but I'm going to work for an hour or two. You know, I'm going to sit and I'll go to the cottage, but I'll just answer some emails while I watch the kids swim. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're saying is that's not actually a vacation.
That's not a vacation. That's a reduced workload. And your brain needs a buffer zone. That means your brain needs time and space to retune itself, adjust itself, refresh itself. So if you are going to the cottage and checking a few emails, and you know, maybe that's all you're able to do. So, you know, I don't want to say that that's worthless. It's certainly not. You know, any bit of rest or escape you can get is going to be beneficial. But that means if you're doing 20% work, you're not getting 100% rest. You're getting maybe 80 or 60% rest.
Right. So not to kind of confuse those things.
Yeah, don't confuse them. We're not saying, you know, don't do that. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. But understand what that kind of experience yields with respect to repairing and restoring your brain.
So I want to get into what it actually does because we kind of hit on that with my story where I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is the solution. But then I got anxious because I couldn't do more work. But I do wonder what being on all the time does to our brains, because it is such a cultural thing. And like, I think I've told you this before, I'll tell all of you that one of my really good friends at a dinner party with a bunch of my other good friends, he said, anybody here who has been left by Mel while on vacation, raise your hands. And everybody raised their hands because I used to break my holidays all the time for work, right? If there was, because I was always had my phone on, and if there was a news story, I would go. And even if it meant leaving my friends in Singapore or New York or Jerusalem, like I'd be like, okay, have a great time. Please take care of my cat. And off I'd go. And I just, is there, before we get into the rest, like what it does positively for us, what does it do to us to be always on? Because we often view it as like a go, go, go. Yeah, like look how hard we're working. But does it have a negative impact to never really shut off?
Yeah, the negative impact is something that you and I have spoken to leaders and groups about dozens of times, and that is burnout. When you're constantly on and you're constantly go, 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 that means your brain is really engaging in a lot of really, really challenging tasks a lot of the time. So you're going to end up getting decision fatigue. You're going to end up getting cognitive overload. Your cortisol levels are going to spike and get really, really high. And that's going to make you feel stressed out as well as harm your brain's ability to take in new information, remember things, learn new things, make decisions. So you're going to burn out, and you're really, before you burn out, you're going to have impaired performance. You're just not going to be able to do your job as well as you're able to actually do it.
I love that. And I don't think we can say it enough. And this is to leaders and people who are worried about the bottom line, that your perception that working people harder or yourself harder, and we'll get into that, is the only way to get better performance is wrong. You're just wrong. It is actually running down the clock. And I was thinking, so I think when we are doing really intense stories, so if we're doing something where we are working 20 hours a day, or when, I'm doing these crazy things where I'd be up for 40 hours in a, active war zone, you can only do that for a certain length of time before your body and your brain just can't function.
What, right? Just so I understand this, 40 hours. Performing under high pressure. And this was a very common occurrence.
Oh, I mean, 40 hours was a pretty exceptional one, but
wow.
But yeah, no, but I mean, you frequently do, at least 10 days where you were getting kind of 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, and where things were very kinetic and you're under really difficult conditions. Although I would like everyone to remember that that's just normal life for a lot of people in these conditions, right? But I was working under, so I don't want to sound, I hate, how I feel about that.
No, but anyway, as far as work goes, you've.
But I was working under those conditions, right? And you're delivering on deadlines. That is hugely difficult to maintain for people. So you always get to a point where you have to pull people out. You're always planning rotations because you can't just leave people there forever. Right? You know that they're going to run down and their work will not be as good. They will not be as sharp at what Heather said there about decision fatigue. They will not make great decisions, which, in a war zone is not ideal. They will not see what's around them, which means they're not grabbing the information and making those connections that you need for high performance in a storytelling news environment. You're just not going to get the job done. So you pull people out and you give them rest. And when you talked about a transition, you always would give them a transition on the way out as well, which is you would, have people, it's like Love Island. People get kicked off Love Island. I have a lot of Love Island. People get kicked off Love Island and they stay somewhere else to adjust before they go home. You get kicked out of a war zone. You get kicked out of the Haiti earthquake. You stay in a hotel for 2 days before you go home because you need to rest and sleep and decompress before you go back to the pressures of daily life.
And so these people were not voluntarily pulling themselves out. You as a leader actually had to pull them out.
Yeah. I mean, you should, because you will get people who are so committed and who are, I'd love to ask you what this is, because I know I had it too, but you get this tunnel vision, right? Where you're so committed to the story, you're running on adrenaline, you are so engaged that if you aren't given an out date, you'll continue. And there are some people who get kind of addicted to it. And so if you were to say to them, do you need to come out? They will tell you no. And it could be very easy to say, oh, well, actually, you know what? They're an amazing cameraman. It was very often cameramen. And they're an amazing cameraman. I'm going to leave them in because that solves a problem for me. I don't have to find somebody else. I don't have to get them in. But you are literally allowing someone to burn themselves out and put themselves and potentially their teammates in danger because or you should know and be aware that they are too tired to do the job at peak capacity. Whatever they're burning, it's like, I don't really know physical fitness, but they're burning muscle, right? They are not burning fat. They are burning muscle at that point. And so if it has to happen, we can all do it. Whatever has to happen, you can do. But when the laziness of like, well, just keep going, you are actually going to destroy your best performers. And that's where you would start to see people developing really unhealthy coping mechanisms as well, because they're trying to find ways to keep going, even though they're really tired. So as a leader, your job is to look and say, I know that person is running down. Out they come. So either on a rotation or just to recognize it, which I would do. Yeah.
This is just so important for leaders to understand exactly what you're saying, that you may offer vacation, you may offer time off. That doesn't mean people who need it are actually going to take it. And as a leader, it's your responsibility to actually tell them and intercede and say, you need to take a break.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. It's your responsibility. And you know what? It's in your self-interest. You will get better results, right? And the brain backs this up, right? If you take the high performer, give them a break and put them back in, you will get better results.
There are decades of research to bear this out. And we also just know the effects, the small effects of rest on a brain. And that what we need is a little bit of break for our brain to catch up. So we've talked about this before, our brain's default mode network. So that's the network that's constantly humming along there when we're doing nothing in particular. And the great thing is that when we're on vacation or we're able to take a break, that actually becomes more active. And the important part there is this network, your default mode network, is absolutely essential for creative thinking, problem solving, and innovation. So giving your top performers a break will yield better results, higher levels of performance, and more creativity and innovative solutions when they come back.
I love this. How much of a break does a brain need?
Well, it depends on the brain. Depends on the brain, and it depends on the person. So I want to say that there's some data that show that at least a 7-day vacation provides a lot of results. So if you can take 7 days, do it. That would be amazing. If you're able to take more than that, icing on the cake, fantastic. Not everybody's able to take that though. And we're not saying that to go on vacation, you have to spend thousands of dollars and take 4 weeks off. You can have a vacation right at home too. You can take a shorter amount of time if you need to also. So if you can give yourself exactly what you did, I love what you did, a day at the spa. Wow, what a great break. For a lot of people, it could be going hiking for the day. And spending a few hours out in nature, absolutely wonderful, absolutely restorative. So it's not just simply about time. It's about time, place, activity, cognitive activity, as well as physical activity, and what you need. And one of the things each person has to do is really assess, how much of a break do I need? What kind of a break do I need? And what are my options?
Okay, give me this. What kind of a break do I need? Because I think this is so key. And I feel like there might be groans and sighs from a number of people watching who are like, I don't get to choose what kind of a break I need, right? Like I'm going to, I'm going wherever the kids want to go. I'm going wherever my my husband's relatives live. Whereas, I'm like, I'm going with my dog hiking, and you are going.
And I'm going to Disney World with my husband.
You are. I
know. And my favorite thing, Melanie, for those who don't know, I love Disney World. I absolutely adore it. It's so much fun. But my favorite thing that I hear people say around the parks nearing the end of their vacation is, well, that wasn't relaxing at all. To which I say, of course it wasn't. It's Disney World. And Disney World typically encompasses, for a lot of people, it's a once in a lifetime trip. It can be pricey. There are definitely ways to do it at a more reasonable price, but it can be a very pricey experience for a lot of people. It often involves walking 10 to 12 miles a day, dealing with lines, dealing with strategy involved and where you go when. and thinking a lot about what you're doing. And so it can be a very fun and exciting time, but perhaps not relaxing. Like, let's say my mom and stepdad, they like going to Mexico to the beach every year. And they like to just relax, enjoy the pool, enjoy the beach. And so there are different kinds of vacations depending on what you need.
Yeah. And so I guess that is that, sorry, yeah, the need, the assessing actually what the thing is you need. Because I think learning to actually be honest about what you need and want to the ability that you can have it. Like for me, love a spa. And, I do think, like, I am the kind of person who, because perhaps the nature of my brain, my insula, and and just myself, I'm like, oh, when's the Mongolian Eagle Festival? But not everybody wants to spend 20 hours on a plane, right? Or sleep in a yurt. And
I didn't know there was a Mongolian Eagle Festival. This is fascinating.
Oh my gosh. I spend a lot of time worrying I'm never going to get to go to it.
This sounds like a Mel vacation.
Yeah, but also that actually I really genuinely love coming on holiday to see my family. Because I spent so much time doing novel things all around the world that for me, like driving around, going to see a movie with my family is luxurious. And for other people, that might feel like a nightmare.
It might. What I'm hearing from you is that you assessed your needs, and one of the needs you have right now is to have a connection vacation where you felt the need to connect with friends, family, loved ones that maybe you haven't seen. And with the Mongolian, what was that festival?
Eagle Festival.
Mongolian Eagle Festival. Wow. I mean, that sounds
Golden Eagle Festival, to be fair, but yes.
That sounds like a bit of a novelty vacation combined with travel where you're going somewhere new, seeing something different, really feeding your brain all these new sensations and experiences. Other people might want what's called a competence vacation. And these are becoming increasingly popular. Maybe you go to Italy and you take an immersive cooking school class for a week. And you come out learning something that you didn't know before, as well as probably eating some really delicious pasta. But this is in other areas too, not just cooking. Some people need an awe vacation, AWE, where they seek out awe and wonder. Maybe they're going to see one of the wonders of the world, the Grand Canyon or Machu Picchu or some,
Golden Eagles. That's Golden Eagles.
A golden eagle. Okay, maybe that's your golden eagle. And so you're seeking a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of something else to look to that really takes your brain to a different place of wonder. And wonder is incredibly important for us. Some people need a solitude vacation. I have a friend who goes to her family cabin in the woods to get away for a week. And that's what she does. She enjoys the cabin, cooks for herself, does a lot of great reading, and goes on some walks and hikes in the woods. So all of these are, completely valid kinds of vacation experiences. They just serve different needs. So it's really important before you go somewhere, if you are able to choose, ask yourself, what do I need right now? What kind of experience do I need to fill my brain up with goodness right now?
Yeah, I think I'm curious about the people who don't feel, I'm going back to, I know I'm being so negative today. Look at me.
It's a vacation show.
Yeah, but I really want people to be able to feel they can switch off.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I love all these types. And I'm like, I worry that somebody is sitting there thinking, well, I really hope someone else gets to go and learn how to make pasta. But, I've got too much stuff to do. Or, I've got to, I'm thinking, the caregivers and entrepreneurs and, we talked about this at the top. This idea of I'll rest when I'm done, right? I'll rest when I'm done. I'll rest when it's over. I'll rest when it's all finished. And I wonder how we can, I don't know, turn that off.
Yeah.
What are they actually, like, what is someone actually saying or doing to themselves when they say, I'll rest when I'm done?
They have good intentions. People who say those things are genuinely committed to their work, their craft, whatever they're doing, and they have great intentions. I just want to keep going. I just want to keep doing this. They also might feel a lot of pressure. What if I don't? What happens if I stop then? And I'm here to tell you, oftentimes those what ifs with the negative things that could happen, those are probably not going to happen. That's really your brain responding to stress, and your brain responds to stress by developing anxiety. And so those are probably irrational fears. They don't feel like it. They feel real. But I'm here to tell you, it's okay to take a break. You need to take a break. And if you're worried about it, I would encourage you to start small. Give yourself an hour off and go do something with that hour. Go get a 1 hour massage. Go take a 1 hour walk. Go feed some ducks in the park just for an hour. And then see how you feel. I guarantee you will feel better and you'll be able to perform better. And then if you've taken an hour, maybe next time you take half a day and then a day, and build up to where you feel comfortable taking time off and you can see and feel the benefits of it. Because if you keep pushing it off and you keep working and you keep grinding, the data bear that a litany of negative things will happen. You're going to have persistent stress, persistent high cortisol that's going to cause high blood pressure, strokes, heart disease, increased cancer rates.
Jesus. Can I just say now I'm
all
just
sorts of negative health effects.
I didn't mean to bring it down this much. Okay,
go on vacation or else.
Go on vacation or die. Wow, that's actually very helpful. But I think, yeah, because look, it's never going to be done. It's never going to be done. And
there's always more to do.
And I think it's just that it's, yeah, I think it's for me when I hear people, and I do this myself. I do it myself. You know, we're chasing an imaginary goal. We're chasing something that's really imaginary. And it is that rest only belongs to a certain class of people and that we are not in it. And rest actually belongs to all of us, to everyone. And it's not about being rich. And it's not about being good enough or done or having your family together. Rest is something that we all need as humans. And I was thinking about this from, the perspective of, I worked in a lot of cultures where they don't take vacations. If you are in a hunting gathering culture, if you are in a culture where you are working every day to keep the family going, you don't take 2 weeks off, but that doesn't mean they don't rest. They have a different relationship to that work. They take those short times you're talking about that are about connection or about solitude. They find different ways to keep going. Or a huge percentage of the world's population would be burned out in the way that we see North American and European people and workforces and leaders being burnt out. And they're not. And it's not because they're getting unlimited or 5 weeks vacation a year. It's because they are still incorporating and believing that rest is important and deserved. Whereas we've sort of got it as okay, sure, fine, but maybe later. And, we talked about...
There may not always be a later. And I'm glad
because you'll die.
You'll die. I'm glad you talked about culture, because this is another really crucial, important thing for leaders to understand, is that they set the company culture in their organization. And therefore, it is important for leaders not only to do what you were encouraging them to do, Mel, and let everybody know they need to take a vacation, but to take vacations themselves.
Yes.
So you set the culture in an organization when you lead by example. And for leaders, this means taking vacations, publicizing that you are taking a break and that you value the restorative effects of a vacation, and setting an example that this is the kind of culture we want to have in this organization. We value rest, and we value peak performance that results from rest.
That is so huge. The I'll sleep when I'm dead leader, which again, I have been that person who is, I'm going to work the hardest. And I thought I was doing it to show everybody that I would never ask them to do something that I wouldn't do. But as a leader, what I was showing them was that if they tried to take a break, that I would probably think that they weren't, trying hard enough. And I didn't think that was what I was doing. And guess what? I was wrong. Now, luckily, I learned my lesson before I died. But what you're saying, Heather, is just so key about leadership. Absolutely. Because the data bears it out. And what we know and what, I've experienced as a leader, what you've experienced working with leaders, you have to model this. And, the fear may be, talking about the what ifs, you might be thinking, well, then everybody's going to take holiday all the time. It's not true. People who are motivated to perform are going to perform. People who have rest and have had that default network. Yeah, I was trying for it. DMN, who got their DMN refreshed, are going to come back and bring you more.
Taking a vacation is actually a competitive edge.
Ooh. Or as the kids say, Heather, I think you can learn to rest as well. I would say that it is, I know you've often talked about things being a skill, and it's like, I have learned to rest. I learned to go to the spa and put my phone in a locker and float. Could I have done that 15 years ago? Absolutely not. I had to learn in small doses to take a break. And sometimes I can only do it for an hour. I'm sure that's the same for you, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone else out there. But it's when you are able to put your focus into, okay, this time is just to be with my family. Or if being with your family is your nightmare, this time is just to be with my book or my dog. Then you're still going to get benefit, and you start to learn it's okay. Right? That would be the benefit I think it is. And if you are a leader, the takeaway of what I want you to remember is I want you to remember that it is your job and your responsibility to look at your team and say, I know that person's running down. It's time to tell them, they're going to the Love Island Hotel. They're going to the post-Love Island Villa Hotel for a refreshing break. And I will get more out of it afterwards. I will have a stronger team and a better performance afterwards. What do you want people to take away, Heather?
I want people to understand that rest and vacation are performance enhancers. These are performance enhancers. This is your competitive edge. And if you need to learn how to rest like Mel did, you can do it. It's a skill. It's learnable. Start small, start with an hour, and build up from there, and watch the amazing effects happen.
You too could look like this.
You could.
Folks, I hope this has been helpful to you, or at least made you think about your own relationship to rest, the relationship of you and your teams to rest. And what kind of time off do you want to have this summer? Hopefully you're going to get some. What do you want it to look like? How do you want it to feel? And how can you start? Let us know, what is the kind of vacation you want? Heather's going to drop those types of vacation in the comments, and let us know, what does that look like for you? And follow, subscribe, sponsor us with a holiday. We are available to speak on cruises. We are available to speak on cruises.
And maybe, viewers, maybe we'll see you at Disney World or the Love Island Hotel.
Oh, yeah. We'd also speak at Disney World, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah. We'd also speak at the Love Island Hotel.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm sure we could help them with a few things.
It's in Fiji, so actually perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Heather. It's all right. I feel like I've had a holiday, and we will see you next week. Okay. No rest for the wicked. Thanks, folks. Bye.
Goodbye.